Hello, entrepreneurs. This is your host, Joe DeCharit, coming to you live once again from downtown Flushing. And yes, I am in the eye of the pandemic storm, but nothing is going to stop me from bringing you this important information. Nothing, because I am an entrepreneur and I've learned that there is nothing that is going to stop me from doing what I want to do for you. And who are you? You are the small business owner, the entrepreneur, the person that I have identified as my avatar, the person that I want to do business with. And who am I? If you don't know me, I am an entrepreneur that was tricked into becoming a CPA by my father when I was 17. I didn't know that that meant I was going to become an accountant. But here I am 35 years later with my CPA license and the experience of having worked with thousands of small business owners from start to finish. I've gotten to know them, their families. A lot of them have become friends of mine, and I've endured with them. I've endured with them the pain and suffering that goes along with starting, building, and trying to manage a small business. And about 10 years ago, I learned that it didn't have to be like that. You know, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Understand that when you go into business, it is going to be painful no matter how much you don't like that. Nobody likes pain, okay? Unless you're one of those sadomasochists, whatever. You know what I'm saying. But nobody is going to say, oh, yeah, bring the pain on, unless you know it's going to result in something good. And so when new business owners come to me and they say they want to start a business and they've never been in business before, I try to warn them or advise them of all the pain that's about to happen. And pain does not mean it's going to be bad, but the pain is inevitable. You know, the financial stress, the emotional stress, the people thinking that you're crazy. And if you're in business and nobody's telling you that you're nuts, you're not doing something right. If somebody's got to be saying you're out of your mind. And when somebody tells you that, you say, thank you. I must be on the right track. Because entrepreneurs, let's face it, we do things that defy logic. We quit our jobs. We borrow millions of dollars to do something like sell rocks. Okay, remember the pet rock? I could imagine the guy's wife when he came in and said, honey, I got the solution to all our financial problems. I'm going to go pick up all the rocks in the back. I'm going to put them in a little house and I'm going to sell them. We're going to make millions. Just think about that for a second. Most people that start a business take the long way. And when I say the long way, you know, when I was growing up, my family, they all had jobs. There was nobody crazy enough to be in business because they knew if they went to work, they were getting a paycheck at the end of the week. Well, when I was 22, about to graduate from college with my CPA degree, I decided instead of, you know, getting a job like all of my other friends was I leased an ice cream truck because I wanted to experiment with my first legitimate business. And it was great. It was unbelievable. I tell the story all the time. You know, the last week of the summer when I was about to, you know, pack it in, count all my money, and I turned down this tree-lined street and I said, this is it. I've made it. I proved my point. Business is easy. This is going to be a ride in the park. Only to find out about 9 months later that it wasn't easy because I got a letter from the New York State Tax Department telling me that there was a warrant, a tax warrant. And what I saw was there was a warrant out for my arrest. Okay. And I still get chills thinking about that because I actually lost 3 nights of sleep wondering what the heck I did. I didn't know if I had to go undercover, if I had to go leave the country. But all it was I didn't fill out a form that they wanted. I asked one of the accountants what I had to do, and I was embarrassed because how could a future CPA get into trouble with the taxing authorities? But that showed me that business was not going to be easy. And I spent a long time trying to help my clients. And like I said, I bought into their pain and their suffering, and I didn't have to. And they didn't have to go through the pain and suffering either. Well, actually, let me take that back. They had to go through the pain, but not the suffering. The suffering is optional. And the suffering, my friends, is the self-imposed torture that we put ourselves through. That's what it is. It's self-imposed torture. Thinking, what did I do? What did I get my family into? How did I put us in this hole? I could have done things differently if I only had a little bit more money. If that job just came through. This is the suffering that we all put ourselves through. And, to be honest with you, life is tough enough. Business multiplies that tenfold. So if you're not in business yet and you're thinking about going in business, I don't want to discourage you, but before you quit your day job, listen to what I'm saying here. Not only me, you don't have to take my word for it. You may not know me from Adam. Ask people that you see that are successful in business, the most successful people that you respect, and ask them their story and ask them how easy it was, because it's not easy. It's not supposed to be easy. If it was easy, nobody would go to work. Everybody would just have a job. Okay, think about that. It's not easy. It's not for people with thin skins. It's not for people that are going to give up. Okay, because the successful entrepreneur never gives up. The successful entrepreneur will fail, pick himself up, and figure out not only what went wrong, but maybe something went right. So I could do 100 things, and if 99 of them don't work, I'm looking at the one thing that worked. And the other 99, hopefully I'm not going to do those again. Thomas Edison, if you don't know him, he just invented the light bulb. And he said he failed 10,000 times. And a news reporter asked him, what made you keep going after failing all those times? And what he said, he didn't fail 10,000 times. He found 10,000 ways that it wouldn't work. And all it took was that one time. But what kept him going? You ever wonder that? Did you ever wonder, how do some people they're always able to pick themselves up? They always have a positive attitude. And, those people, sometimes I just want to smack them, to be honest with you. How can you always be happy? How can you always be motivated? My dad was staying with me one time. This was a long time ago. My kids were young. And I remember I did this little side gig, believe it or not. I was going and waxing floors in the morning. It's a long story, but I would get up at like 5 a.m., go do it was like a little route. I would go and do that before I actually went to work. And my father said, where do you get your energy from? Where do you get your energy from? And to me, it was simple. I wasn't doing it for me, because I had little kids and I wanted them to have a little bit more. And by doing that, I was able to get up out of bed no problem. Today, I might roll out of bed at 9:30. I don't have little kids. I have different motivations. But at that time, it was simple. I was like, are you kidding me? I got little kids to support here. Getting up was easy. it was worth it. I got benefits from that. I never even thought about how hard it was. And I didn't, it wasn't a chore. It was like, I got to do this. Thank God I got this little extra gig that I was able to do, something extra for my family. And I really never even thought about it again until now. But, the fact is that there is energy out there that some people just seem to know how to gather. And tonight, that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about, and here it is. I'm actually starting to figure out how to use the technology here. So that's good news for everybody. So tonight's episode on how to win a business is I am going to talk about how to get inspired and motivated. Because what I've learned, and I've known this stuff for a while, okay? I started studying not about why businesses fail, but I started studying about how do people succeed about 10 years ago when I came across this book called The Science of Getting Rich and The Law of Success by Napoleon Hill, but that's another story. But the fact of the matter is that Wallace Wattles talked about this thinking stuff, this stuff that is permeating and penetrating everything. It's everywhere. And Napoleon Hill had another term for it, but it doesn't matter. You could see it in people. Did you ever walk into a room and there's somebody that you're just attracted to, or somebody walks into a room and everybody looks at them like, oh, they're so successful. They're so successful. How is that? Well, I have a friend that I recently connected with again. And, I was thinking every time, now I'm so happy I reconnected with her because every time I talk to her, it's like I get this inspiration. I'm motivated. And it started me thinking about this is what I want to teach people. It's if I just keep this to myself, it's not going to benefit anybody but me. It'll benefit the people that are around me. But what if I could teach other people what's become obvious to me? And that's what I want to do tonight. I want to show you a couple of tricks, a couple of ways that anybody could go from feeling sorry for themselves, like I do plenty of times, to being positive, to being that kind of person that people want to be around. So my friend, we got disconnected for a couple of years. And when we got disconnected, she was going through some hard times. Okay. She was going through some hard times and she wasn't really fun to be around. And every time I would get on the phone with her, it would be about another, oh, this is happening to me. How am I going to pay my bills? I wish I didn't do that. And, I loved and respected her. I always did. But it was tough, to the point where it became like almost, forget about reaching out. It was like if the phone rang, it was like, oh, did you ever get that way? You ever feel like that with anybody that you're like, oh my God. Now, if it's your family, sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. But you can't change your family, but you can change your actions and your attitude. And I'm going to show you a couple of ways that you can do that. Like I said, it's easy to get off track. Life is difficult for starters. Life just throws stuff at us that's out of our control. There's no way around that. You can't control the weather. You can't control time. You can't control other people. And the first step that I learned was to stop worrying about the stuff that I can't control, which is most of everything. I can't control the sun, the rain. Obviously, we can't control that. But I can't even control how I want other people to act with me. I can't tell my kids, hey, treat me with a little more respect. Hey, you forgot my birthday. I can't control that. And so with those things, I realized, you know what? Believe it or not, I'm not the center of the universe. Everybody isn't worried about me. Everybody's actually worried about themselves. And I remember when I first started in business, a friend of mine bought me this book called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. That book is timeless. And what he said basically is nobody cares about you. They care about you, but people, for the most part, are worried about themselves. They're worried about how other people look at them, what other people think about them. And basically, we're all stuck in ourselves, which is not a good place to be. So the first thing, and I've already talked about this, so I'm still getting used to the technology, but my brain is a little bit ahead of my clicking powers here. So the first exercise that I've employed is to think back, and I'm talking about, okay, if you don't have a business, you probably shouldn't even be watching this, to be honest with you, because everything that I do and talk about is about business. Okay, so let's assume that you're in business or you're thinking about business and you've gotten sidetracked, which happens to all of us. It's inevitable. It's just like the pain. Nobody goes into business and stays on track 24/7 and always remembers what they went into business for, because stuff happens. We get hit by lightning. We get, stuff happens. A pandemic happens. Stuff out of our control. So people have been asking me, how do you stay positive? How are you getting through this? How can we get through this? And my answer is always the same. Well, if you've created principles like I have, you're doing the same thing now as what you were doing before in principle. So I already have my principles laid out. And part of my principles are to keep going through my principles. So the first principle that I've employed in my life and my business is to find my purpose. Okay, I realized when I started studying the science of getting rich, I realized that it couldn't just be about money. Yeah, obviously, if you're in business to make money. And if you're not in business to make money, then you have a hobby. Okay, so why state the obvious? Why go through the exercise of, well, I'm in business to make money? That's obvious. It's like trying to explain to somebody why you breathe. I breathe because it helps me live. Yeah, I'm in business to make money. And if you're not in it to make money, then you're either in a not-for-profit, which most of the time still needs money, but that's a whole nother story. But you take money out of the equation. There's got to be a reason, some need that you fill, some problem that you solve. And if you follow me, you know that one of the first things that I ask my new clients is, what problem do you solve? So as this is going on, I found myself telling people, advising my clients, advising people in mastermind groups, talking about it on podcasts. I was just interviewed by a friend, and it just reminded me. I said, find what your purpose is again. Maybe you need to redefine your purpose. Okay. But once you tap into what that purpose is and you realize that it's not about you and it's not about making money anymore, that the money is really a result of you fulfilling your purpose, you stop feeling sorry for yourself. You can get back into producing those endorphins that get you motivated and inspired. And that's what my friend Sue does. So Sue went through this episode where everything was a problem. She wasn't in the solution. And when I reconnected with her, she was a whole different person. She was happy. This energy, like whatever, it was coming out of her. You know, people are just drawn to her now. And she just reminded me, it was like, oh my God, I wish I could box this up and sell it. And you can. I'm going to show you how. She figured out how. And it's amazing. It is amazing. Because let me tell you, Albert Einstein claimed that everything was energy. Energy is actually a physical thing. We are energy manifested into physical beings. And if that's true, if Napoleon Hill was right, if Wallace Wattles was right, if that thinking stuff is permeating and we can control it, we could actually harness inspiration and motivation. And I'm so glad that Sue came back into my life. If you're watching, Sue, thank you. I hope that I'm not upsetting you that I'm mentioning this, but it's the truth. If you want to run a successful business, you need to tap into that inspiration. You need to be motivated as often and as much as possible. So I came across a guy named Simon Sinek in my journey a couple of years ago, and I highly recommend that you search him. You search Simon Sinek on YouTube, and he has a video I watch often. It's called Start With Why. And he talks about why companies that do the same thing as other companies, like Apple Computer is a computer company, right? Well, not anymore, but they were a computer company and they competed with other computer companies. But their computers were twice as much as everyone else's. So why did people buy them? I'm not going to tell you any more on that. You can find Simon Sinek, and you'll thank me, believe me. The next secret is just help somebody. No matter how far down the scale you are, there is always somebody that needs help. And that could be anything. You can help somebody. Okay, I'm at a loss for things right here, but if you need instructions on how to help somebody, then maybe you need more help than I thought. But if you just help somebody, it's a physical fact that by helping somebody any way that you can, it could be giving them some encouragement. It could be doing a video like this saying, listen, things aren't as bad as they might seem. I can help you. And when you do that, something physical happens in your brain and in your heart, where these endorphins, this energy, this motivation is released. So that's another thing. The next thing, and this is something that Sue just taught me, and it's so easy, send somebody a thank you. So what Sue does is she has this marketing system that's unbelievable. So she sends out cards. It's called send out cards, and she just sends thank yous to people. And I thought it was out of the box, off the wall, until I started doing it. And I'll tell you, folks, it becomes addicting. It's like, who else can I thank? Who else can I? And it's what they call the laws of attraction. Okay, if you're familiar with that term, it works. Because when I sent that first thank you, unsolicited, I got this feeling. And that's what it's a feeling. Oh my God, I can't wait till they get it. What are they going to think? What are they going to say? I know when I get thank yous like that, because Sue just sent me one, I got this thank you, and I was like, that's how I got the motivation. I said, let me do this. And here's another trick. I got just this one and then one more after this, and then I'll be done. I'll be on to my next webinar. I've talked about this a lot, a mastermind group. And this was another Napoleon Hill principle that he got from Andrew Carnegie. That's actually been a principle since the beginning of freaking time. It's not new. It got a label. Now, let me explain what a mastermind group is, because it's very simple. It could be a husband and wife joined together, have had a meeting of the minds. They're on the same page about how to raise their kids. It's like a third mind is created. That's how Napoleon Hill actually described it. A board of directors of a company is a mastermind. They have one purpose. Okay? So a mastermind in today's world, people are creating masterminds all the time. And there's masterminds that you have to pay for. I'm in one of them. I've been in masterminds that you pay for. But there's also masterminds that you could create on the fly. And all it is, it could be a group of people that get together and just talk about a common issue that none of them can solve independently. So I want to give you a great example of something that just transpired today. I was being interviewed on my friend Eric Reed's show, okay? And there should be a link to it in the group that we're in here. And we were talking about the principle. We were talking about things that people could be doing now to get their business back on track. And we started talking about the restaurant industry and how businesses are going to have to be prepared now, believe it or not, for when the dust settles, for the onslaught of new business that is going to come rushing in. Okay, believe it or not, if you own a nail salon, a hair salon, a barber shop, any kind of store that people were so used to going to as just in the normal course of doing business, they're going through withdrawal now. And when you open your doors, you better be prepared for the onslaught of business, because I could see, even doggy daycare businesses. You're going to have customers lining out around the corner. How are you going to handle that? Well, right now, here's a suggestion. Get your people, your employees, and create a mastermind and say, listen, we're out of business now temporarily for the time being. Well, let's put our heads together and figure out how we're going to handle all the business when it starts again. How are we going to handle the volume? Because I know if it was me, I don't want to pass up the opportunity. And I've been talking about this since day one, since we've been shut in, since businesses have been closed down. Be prepared for when the dust settles, because if you're not, people, let's say you own a hair salon and you're not ready to take on twice the amount of business that you had, well, they're going to go somewhere else. Well, some of the things you can be doing now is huddling up, not physically, obviously, but talk to your people and say, hey, we're going to have a big problem on our hands, a good problem, but it's still a problem. What are your suggestions? How are some of the ways we can deal with this? And you would be surprised that the energy and the inspiration that comes out of those meetings. I don't think I've ever been in a mastermind group meeting where I came out saying, oh, I wish I didn't invest that time. 150% of the time, people come out motivated and inspired. And the last but not least suggestion is to take action. Anything I've told you, if anything's resonated with you tonight, if you don't take action, it's meaningless. Just like if you have an idea for a business, you have the next greatest idea. Unless you take action, all it is a dream. So if you want to get inspired and get motivated, take action on a couple of these things that I've suggested. They're free. Not one of these things costs any money. It's free. And the truth is that everything that anybody ever needs or needed to become successful is right at their fingertips. Okay, if any of this has resonated with you, if you would like to reach out to me, you can always book a free chat with me by going to Time with Joe. If you want some more free information, you can go to my website, bedrockbusinessbuilders.com, and you could click the button for how to get rich now, how to start getting rich right now. And you'll get the same information that I got, the same instructions that I follow every day. And that's my story. I'm sticking with it. Joe DiChiara, bedrockbusinessbuilders.com. God bless you. Good night, and I will see you tomorrow. Thank you.